everybody, welcome to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer, and with me today, I have a very special guest. And I've been getting in trouble for saying very special guest, so I've changed it, and I'm now playing the improv game where I choose the person's first name, and I take a word that has an adjective that starts with the same letter of that first name. So today with me, I have Magical Matt. Matt, how's it going?
Magical Matt, I'm doing great. That's always like the first class games, and you're judging everybody about how funny they are based off of
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of pressure on that game, I feel, because it's always who's the funny person in this class.
Yeah, and
I think everyone does that.
Yeah, and I've also learned that I actually improvise these names. So sometimes I'm like, it's a person who's I'm excited that they're. I have to really think about it because I'm like, what is an adjective that starts with Q, or what's an adjective that starts with L, and like it's hard sometimes. But so I want to set myself up for success. But sometimes that's hard. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you and your improv life. What
Sure.
is your improv background or your relationship to improv? Whatever you kind of want to answer from that.
Yeah. So let's see. It's a little weird, but maybe not weird. But I think in 2007, I took classes at UCB. I took levels 1 and 2, but I just moved to LA and I was pretty broke. I was working as a production assistant for money for like just barely enough to live. I really had a hard financial, as I think a lot of people do in LA. So I was dead broke, so I lost PA gigs, they go gig to gig. So I ran out of money completely. And I don't know if you know this about improv classes, but they cost money. And I was looking for PA work. So kind of the idea of interning, everyone's like, oh, you just intern. I'm like, well, if you don't have money, you don't have time to intern because you're trying to make money. But anyway, so I ran out of money, took a humongous break from improv. So that was 2007. I took my first 2 levels. And then I did like weird indie theater at a bunch of different places, because those don't cost classes. And I did plays for a long time. And then I think at 2012, I finally was like, oh, I think I have money again. And I miss doing improv. And I had done a comedy podcast that was like doing well on the iTunes charts at the time with my friend I moved out with. So I kind of contacted UCB. I'm like, hey, I'm on like the top 100 comedy podcast. I've kind of still been, doing stuff. Do you think I could just take level 3? And they said yes. They probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't say that
Today.
No,
they wouldn't.
And it was weird because I took such a long break, and when I was first taking classes, I'd just roll up to UCB Franklin and see a show. So I tried to do that again in 2012. I was like, okay, I'll roll up. There's a fucking line, bro. You didn't get your tickets in time. So anyway, returned to UCB 2012, finished the program, made it to advanced. This was before whatever it's called now. I stopped taking classes before whatever's advanced now, the thing you audition for.
Oh yeah, the academy.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, I was pre-academy. So I took to level 4. I got into advanced after my first level 4, and I took a bunch of advanced classes at UCB. So there's kind of UCB in the tightest nutshell. Yeah, sure. The tightest nutshell I can give it. And then I was like, okay, I'm liking UCB. I kind of want to try other things. And the Nerdist School had just opened up. I was excited about their initial kind of the idea that they might be connected to the Nerdist umbrella and creating content. And I make podcasts, and I was making silly videos for Funny, putting them on Funny or Die. And then it made it to the front page. They never paid me to make the content, but I was just like, oh, look, I'm on the front page. So I took classes at the Nerdist School. I got on a house team at the Nerdist School. The Nerdist School transitioned to the Ruby. I stayed on a house team during maybe the first year of the Ruby. And then I just decided to move on from there because there was a period of time where I was on a house improv Nerdist Ruby team, a house sketch iOS team when iOS was alive, and a house sketch team at the Pack. And I was trying to do all three at the same time, all the
Oh, wow.
practices, all the writing, all of it. And I
It's a
think,
lot.
yeah, I think, I never really made a team at UCB. And I think maybe in my mind, I was trying to have revenge by by doing poorly attended shows at every other theater in town.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's the quickest way I can sum up everything.
Yeah, that's great. I was gonna say the three teams kind of things at the same time. I at one time remember taking I think like 4 classes or 5 classes in a week at one time, and I was like, this is so great. And then like 3 weeks in, I was like, I'm so burnt out because it was
Yeah.
just like improv and comedy, like pretty much 24/7. And so it is something where I was like, small doses is great, and like just to continue doing it is great, but packing in so much, especially with so many different philosophies, became like a lot of like,
Yeah.
what is
Also, I'm
happening?
a dad. That also contributed
Yeah,
a lot. I have a 5-year-old daughter. So I think once I became a parent, I had to kind of focus on how everything was serving my goals. And with everything being shut down and all of this, I am in a very strange place with improv. I don't know where I am with improv right now. I'll probably continue to do sketch. And I'll probably do improv when people ask me to do improv, but I don't think I'm going to I don't think I'm going to do anything where a coach meets with me. Like, I think I'm
yeah,
past that. Like, if you want to do improv, this is what you got. You
yeah,
got this right here. If you want me to meet up with a bunch of 20-year-olds and a coach in somebody's living room, I'm past that, man.
yeah,
I'm in my late
no,
30s. I got a kid. I'm
yeah,
not meeting you and paying somebody $15. I'm not doing it.
yeah. I hit once I hit my 30s. I was like, you know what? I'm like over it in
Yeah.
general, like
I'm
the
deep in my
world.
30s. I'm deep in my 30s. I'm up to my neck in my 30s. So,
Yeah, I'm on the other end. But I was gonna
yeah.
say you bring up a point where, like I have this thing where it's like the idea of commitment. Like people are really like they don't want to like commit to anything, or like they want to but they don't want to. And
Right.
so I actually created this thing. I had someone who's like, "Hey, we have a show going up. Do you and your team want to play?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't have a team. I didn't think about it." And then so I created this thing called Laser Tag Team, because puns are abundant in improv and
Right.
comedy, and so
Mhm.
I called it Laser Tag Team, laser with a Z, of course, because of course.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, who wants to play? It's literally a tag team where anyone who wants to come in and can play. So it's a team that there's no commitment. It's just like a
Right.
pop up kind of team. And I was like, that I know is like, that's like something like you would do. It's like just come play or whatever.
Right.
And it's like people have, and it's like, some people are so committed and dedicated in like that's what they're doing, but then also people have lives, like parents have to like do parent things,
Yeah.
like
Keep the
or like
child alive and happy and all that.
yeah, exactly. And so there's I think that's a lot of things where it's like a work life comedy balance almost in its own, where
Right.
comedy can be work, comedy can be life, but there's also this like third thing where like actual work and actual life, like in order to do comedy you gotta keep a roof over your head, like you gotta pay the bills, like there are things
Right.
that have to happen. And so I think that it's an interesting idea, because I know a lot of people, I guess my point is a lot of people really are like me when I was in my like mid 20s, being like, I'm going to do all these classes, I'm young, I got all this time, and then being like, I have no money to take all these classes, I have no time to take all these classes, but also like I have to think about what I'm going to do when I hit the next decade of my life.
Right.
And
And
so but I don't think about it until I hit the decade.
you can assess daily. You don't have to wait every
Yeah.
10 years. But yeah, that was a lot of what kind of something I thought about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where I was like, okay, maybe I'll take a improv, maybe I'll take a comedy class, maybe I'll take a sketch class, but I'm filtering it through how does this serve me? How does this serve my goals? Does it
Hmm.
serve me? Does it serve my goals? If it doesn't, no. I don't have to. My time is finite. It's even more finite having, you know, parental responsibilities on top of work responsibilities, money responsibilities, So, I had like a vision board, like I wrote what I
Yeah.
want to do, you know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah.
my goal is not to be on an improv team. My goal is to be on your television. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Doing
Hmm.
comedy, yeah, but not Whose Line. There's only like 7 slots for that. I want to be on
Right.
like I want to do television comedically. And some people, because you're like, oh well, this person that's on an improv team uh is on TV now doing that thing, right? And you get it in your head, you're like, oh, they got on a house team and they did it. But then like go to any other class in LA, go to an acting class in LA, go to a knitting class in LA, go to a painting class in LA. If you meet enough people, a certain percentage of them are going to be on sitcoms. Like,
Yeah.
you get very like, this is the only path. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
It's because you see
So
what's right in front of you. That's what it's. You're like, oh, this is my friend who does this thing, and that's how they did it, so that's how I'm gonna do it. Because there's only one path to success.
especially if you're taking 6 comedy classes a day, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It consumes your entire world, which is good. It's good to have that level of commitment. But what I'm saying is, I look at my goal. My goal right now on my vision board is to book co-stars. Because that's where I am as
Hmm.
an actor, and I did it like for the first time like a month ago. Got the
Nice.
first one, and that's tangentially related to my comedy thing. So if so I'm going to reverse engineer this, right? So I took
Yeah.
classes at UCB. I eventually auditioned for Top Story at IO West, right? There's a guy at IO West that I was on Top Story with, and eventually on a house team that I saw was booking a lot. I asked him for his manager thing. He referred me to his manager. I got a manager. That was cool. It didn't really work out. The manager referred me to an agent. The agent referred me to another manager, and that manager has been getting me out like crazy. So a lot of
Hmm.
weird points, right? But
Yeah.
the pursuit of comedy somewhat linked me to my goal, but it wasn't
Hmm.
what I thought my goals were. I thought my goals were, get at the most well attended house team thing with packed houses, and get, the notoriety in those circles, and that will lead to where I want to go. But
Yeah,
that
because we
wasn't
all
the
know.
path for me.
Yeah, we all know agents and managers love to come to every single improv show that you do that's well attended.
I mean,
Of
I
course.
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
they come, but I mean, I know that like mine are like, I'm sorry I can't. I'm just busy submitting people. And I'm like, that's great. I would rather you like submit me for stuff than to like
yeah,
see my like every Tuesday night I have an improv show.
right.
It's like that's the thing. But I have
But that's what I'm saying. Connect the
my
goal to
yeah,
what you're doing. You know what I mean? If I don't really
exactly.
see, like, what is the value for this? Because, live performance is coming back, and I've been without it for, a year and a half. And I'm kind of like, do I want to perform live ever again? And I think I do, but I need to define for myself what value I'm getting. And it might just be
Hmm.
keep Matt Harbert from going insane in Los Angeles, and happy. That
Yeah.
might be it. I'm not sure what it is, but I want to define it for myself so that I'm in line with what I'm trying to do out here.
Yeah,
Does
and
that
I
make
think that
sense?
actually, yeah, it does. And I think that actually leads into a point with something that actually is like improv related is whatever like you or like I or whoever decides like with this 1.5 years that we've kind of been without all this live performance, whatever you as a collective decides is the right thing. And I think that that's also like with improv, making a choice, the choice you make in an improv scene is the right choice.
Yeah.
And so I think that that kind of like works in that own way, which kind of sort of leads me into this question, which is actually quite exciting. I'm usually not very good with segues until today, but then I called
Ooh.
it out. But then I called it out, so now it's not really a great segue.
I
But
don't care.
what
Celebrate yourself.
you should see my segue. It's always the transition of the segue.
Ooh.
But
Do they have
what do you,
motors? No, they're electric.
I don't do they? I don't know. I've never ridden one. It scares
No
me.
idea.
Ask Paul Blart. I think yeah. I think they got like batteries, right? I don't
I
know.
have no idea.
I have, whatever. The point is, what do you love about improv? We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but like really diving into that, like what do you love about improv?
Um, So I've heard it said a lot that a great improv scene should seem like a sketch.
Mhm.
And I understand where that comes from. And I think that's cool. Like if you did a great improv scene, it should seem like something that you would have spent some time on and written. I don't fully subscribe to that. The
Mm.
joy I see, Heather Ann Campbell is probably one of my favorite improvisers, if not my favorite. I mean, that's not an uncommon opinion. They don't seem like written sketches. They seem, she plays with the idea that you're creating it live. She intentionally fucks with her scene partner, her, the improviser, and her teams work at the level that she can do that without ruining the scene. But she and the audience know that she is fucking with the other actor in the scene, and there's a lot of joy in that. And I feel like my most joyous moments of improv, when done well, are when you're aware you're watching improv. You're celebrating that it's being made up on the spot. You're not like, oh, what a clever, well executed comedic idea. Great. And like, I like that, but that's not where I really go bananas when I watch something. I like the joy of shared discovery. So the audience discovers it, the improvisers discover it, and the characters within the scene discover it all at the same time. And that's where it feels magical,
Yeah, for sure.
and you have to have that kind of a good improv scene should look like a sketch in order to achieve that kind of next level. But that's where it feels magical to me, because otherwise I'd just rather watch a sketch. I'd rather watch it go through 4 iterations and coach notes, hopefully, as long as
there's definitely a
along.
difference between the two, for sure. And I think you hit it right on the head with the idea that I want to celebrate the fact that it's being made up. I don't want to buy into that this has been pre-rehearsed or pre-rehearsed. That feels like that's an oxymoron. Rehearsed,
Right?
Pre-rehearsed is an oxymoron, I'm pretty sure, but that it's been rehearsed. And so I like the idea of it
for the rehearsal.
Yeah, right. That feels very not right.
Yeah.
But I do agree with the idea that it's like improv is such a specific skill that saying like, oh, it's almost like it's a sketch, then it's like, well, then it's no longer improv. It's a sketch now. If you treat it as a sketch, it's a sketch. Yeah. However, there are ways to improvise, re-improvise, and then write it out as a sketch if you like an improv scene so much to make it into a sketch.
I could not imagine being good at that, but I've heard other people can do that. If I'm writing a sketch, I wanna go into a hole and get my comedic idea out, and then what I feel like a good thing that is like a practical application to improvisation is kind of writer's room discussion, which is kind of like doing small, you're doing it kind of by yourself, but like when you're pitching, you're kind of self-improvising a pitch on the comedic idea. And when you like collaborate, it's a little bit more back and forth and not so in the moment, but it's I love pitching on writers' rooms. I can't stop. One thing I have to do is I have to give myself a maximum pitch in my head. Like I just read the energy of the room and I'm like, I have an idea, and then I say the idea, and then later in the day I have an idea, and then I'm like, Matt, you have to be quiet until you have a home run. You've talked it, you've used all of your pitch points.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I'm insane. I'm an insane person. So I have a tendency to just recognize that,
blurt stuff out and be like, wait, maybe I should have thought about this before I said this. But that all being said, on a completely unrelated note, because that's usually how I roll here on this show.
No segues required.
I have, yeah, whether they're electronic or battery powered, or wait, that's the same thing. Anyway, the point is, whether there's a motor, I guess that's what I was thinking with the crank.
No, I got the call back.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Everyone else will figure it out. But one thing I know that as an improviser and even as an actor, I have a really hard time memorizing lines and or remembering things.
Hmm.
And that's just like me. I have games that I can do to like work it. But like I've been on sets before where someone like they're like, hey, we need you to do this monologue to another actor. Like we need you to do this monologue because the other person's not here, so you'll just take it. And that person like on the first take had it memorized. And I was like, you had like 3 minutes. How
No,
did you do that?
I don't have that
But
skill at all. I mean, I work on it a
but
lot, but
yeah, but I mean, I need like overnight like sleeping on it. But that being said, with improv, I love when I have like this feeling of like, oh, that was such a fun show, like as an audience member, as a performer. But even like when I'm performing in like a Herald, for instance, if someone brings me back, I'm like, you really have to clue me in on what I did in 2 scenes ago because I literally don't remember who I was or what my like point was in this whole scene.
yeah.
But there are moments that I do remember because they were aha moments for me in improv. Like whether it was watching a scene or performing in an audition or performing in a showcase or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But do you, as an improviser, have any of those scenes or any of those moments where it was either an aha moment or something memorable to you as either an audience member or as a performer? Like a scene that you're like, ah, this scene was great when
Mm.
these people did this or whatever. It's always a trick question for people
There's
because it's hard to
one.
remember.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with one that kind of stood out to me. I
Sure.
mean, who knows? But this is the one that for some reason has done it. I think it was the team was Bangarang, and I think I can't remember that actor's name. But they did a scene where someone just didn't know the social norm of when to give a high five. And
Mm.
that's all it was. The premise was, what if someone did not understand what a high five was? And other than that, it was played 1,000,000% honestly. It was really funny because they tried to teach him, but like a high five is a social norm that actually has complicated rules. You know what I mean? You'd high five
Hmm.
someone on a baseball field. You wouldn't like high five, I don't know, your boss or like a principal or something like that. So all the beats and all the heightening didn't go to like crazy land. No one was a dinosaur. It was literally someone struggling with understanding what a high five was. It was incredibly realistic, yet incredibly absurd. It still heightened to absurdity without going to the moon or the president. It literally just went to like a higher stakes situation where the person with the rules that were established so far in the scene, uh, he understood only the rules he was taught about high fives. So I guess probably as the improviser, he was like, how could I misinterpret, with these data points, how could I still realistically fuck up? But it was just hilarious. It
Yeah,
was
that's awesome.
hilarious because it was, yeah, heightened and real at the same time.
Yeah, it's that awkwardness of like, should I or shouldn't I? And even now, like I mean, with pandemic, it's like, are we hugging? Are we fist bumping? Are we elbow? Like, what are we
uh,
doing? Are we Wi-Fiing? That's what I use on internet with the kids that I tutor. It's a
oh,
Wi-Fi because you get a high five over the internet.
I
But that's
like
just
it.
yeah, I know it's a real hefty dad joke, and I've had some groans from some of the kids. But you know what can
Eh,
I do?
groans a
Uh,
reaction. Why not?
yeah, but they'll never forget it though.
Mm.
That being said, they'll never forget it. Completely unrelated note. Do you have any plugs or any pitches that you want to share?
Yeah. So because of kind of pandemic and stuff, I've been spending more time, mainly because it's like low commitment, but I've just been making stupid TikToks. So if you want to find me there, it's just Matt Harbert 5. My first name, my last name, and I guess there are younger Matt Harberts out there TikToking away. So there's a 5 at the end, Matt Harbert 5. If you want to watch me, my half-assed ideas that, oh my God, TikTok's so weird.
I
The things that blow up are never the ones you spend time on.
You don't understand. I've had this struggle. I have like 480 something followers on TikTok, and I
Mhm.
had like one of the first videos I posted ever had 31K views
Yeah.
and like thousands of likes, and I was like, this is so exciting. But then I ended up with like 8 new followers, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then all of a sudden, I had like less than 100 views, and I got about 200. And then all of a sudden, for 1 week, I had like 600 to 1,000 views on all my videos. And then ever since then, it was like nothing. And I was like, "What is happening?" And then I
Yeah,
tried to find a niche, and then the niche seems to be less engaging than like my random stuff. So I was like, I don't know. TikTok
I
is
don't know.
weird, but I love it.
Just throw pennies into the fountain.
Yeah,
One of
and
the
see what.
wishes will come true. No,
Yeah,
that's all I say,
exactly.
because like I feel like I have made some sort of strategy about some of the ones that do well, but overall it's just know that 1 out of 30 videos will do well. And then I have friends, that have substantial TikTok followings, and I look through their videos because I'm like, am I the only one here? And it's like, it's the same thing. 1 out of every like 20 really hits. If they have a
Hmm.
bigger account, their lower performing videos are higher than my, but like the ones that they have that go mega viral, it's like still 1 out of every 30 videos. So
Yeah,
all I can say is just throw pennies into the stupid fountain,
yeah,
or don't do it, because again, goals. Does this feed
yeah.
into my goals? I don't know. It
TikTok
might
away or
it might
don't.
be keeping Matt Harbert sane. It might be going under that column
There you
where I
go.
can still
Whatever.
make comedy in these restrictive environment.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining me here on the Improv Summit. I have one final question for you, which is the reason why the Improv Summit exists. And before pandemic, but even during pandemic, I did like most of the main programs as well as some of the smaller ones in LA. And people were like, "Spencer, you do a lot of improv. Where should I take improv?"
Mhm.
And that question was always hard for me to answer because there are so many steps to it, and a lot involved in that. But if someone came up to you and asked you, "Where should I take improv?" what would be one piece of advice or one tip that you'd give to them to help guide them on their improv journey?
Man, uh, it's a hard question to answer. This would be the
Hmm.
advice I give someone. I would take classes at UCB specifically, not for any. It's a great program. This is not to knock them. Not for any other reason. It's the industry standard. Well, it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are just to have fun and do improv, that isn't my. But I'm saying if your goal is like Los Angeles entertainment industry, take the first 4 classes and then fucking run away. That's what I
Hmm.
say. Don't audition for act. What's it called? I don't know. I don't know what their advanced program's called anymore.
The
I'm
Academy? You're talking about
Yeah, academy.
Academy?
Sorry, I kept trying to say academics.
Yeah,
Don't
it's same thing.
audition.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to try and make it a Herald team, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll work out for you. That would be
Mm.
more pennies you're throwing into a fountain, and they're not pennies; they're $450. So I would say take the first 4 levels so you get an idea of what game is. I think game's a great tool. I think it helps you in all creating comedy. And then I would just not take another class there. I'd go take classes everywhere else, unless you're trying to get on a Herald team. But I chased that dragon for a long time, and again, I had to look at my priorities. And is taking my 7,000th UCB class in line with my goals? The answer was no. And I wish someone had told me to just, take the 4 classes and then focus on your main goals, because house teams anywhere, this probably applies to anywhere. It's just UCB is where I chase the dragon. House teams can eat your real goals. You can get sucked into it, and you could be doing shows at the clubhouse and all of this, and like, remember what you moved to LA for, and make sure what you're doing in the improv world or any other world are feeding into that. And the second they aren't, fucking leave and find what's doing that. That might be at another improv class. That might mean never doing improv again. I don't know. You got to
Mm.
answer that question for yourself. But know what your goals are and make sure that what you're doing in the improv world is feeding those goals.
That's great. I love that. I love that for sure. Definitely make sure that you're enjoying what you're doing, especially.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Also enjoy your life, but that's
yeah.
something I struggle with. So maybe I
Yeah.
don't take
I feel
advice
it.
from me on how to be happy, because I'm not
Yeah.
gonna give you good advice on that.
Yeah.
Zoloft
Yeah.
has helped.
Great. Great. Or the unnamed brand is also perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's what I take.
That being
It's
said,
it's generic Zoloft, but I don't know. I don't know.
Klozov.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I made that up. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I did say that was the last question I had for you, but as always on the Improv Summit here, I am a big liar. So I actually have one more question for you, and that question is: we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right, we're going to do some improv. One thing
Cool.
I want to play with is suggestions that audience give us. We always get the suggestion of pickle, improv, pineapple, because we're all clever and those are funny. Let's like see a scene with one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never encountered very, very like not specific suggestions. So I want to play around with that. So I'm going to throw something into the chat that is completely not specific at all. And I want you to say it out loud and then choose who's going to initiate the scene
Yep.
off of this very, very not specific idea.
Perfect.
It's in the chat.
Okay, that is not a typo, right?
That is not a typo.
Okay, great. So the suggestion is A, and I think for equity, I should initiate.
Great.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah. Spit it out, Jade. Sin.
Thanks for using my full name.
Sorry, I don't call you Jay, but
I just appreciate you, honoring my request. Report cards came in today.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're not going to be happy about this. I got an A in phys ed. Dad, I'm really good at sports.
Calves like yours, I was hoping that you would be a dancer in the musical theater business.
I know, Dad. I know. I'm sorry. Okay? I knew you were on off Broadway in New York, okay?
Twice. Thank you very much. Twice.
I just want to live in a town where people play football, Dad.
I know you do.
No, nobody in this town. Nobody in this town. They call me Jock Boy. Do you know that at school? They call me
Jay.
Jock Boy.
Son, yes, I know.
Okay.
I know, because everyone in this town, this is a musical theater town.
Jameson's on the back of my football jersey. That's why you won't say it, Dad. You're ashamed that I play football. Is that it?
I mean, maybe I was just... What?
I want to make you happy. Okay.
Yeah. I get it. But you know what would really make me happy? Give up this football dream and go be a star on Broadway.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
Remember when we did No Nanette last fall?
Yes, I do.
Thank you for doing the inside joke we did where we said two words over and over again.
Sure.
We when I was waiting in the wings, I was doing that thing you do in baseball where you bounce the ball off. I was practicing throwing. That's why I didn't know my lines and I ruined the play last season. I was thinking about baseball, Dad.
And you called a musical a play. How dare you? How dare you?
Play musical? I don't know. Fuck, man.
Look.
Why won't you accept that I'm very good at throwing things, Dad? Fuck, dude.
Listen, Jay, son. Yeah. I wanted to make a joke about you throwing lines just as good as you throw a ball, but I won't. I won't because I've subjected you to enough humiliation. Listen, maybe I can get a little carried away with my desire to have been a Broadway star. I was off Broadway twice, but that's not quite Broadway, and maybe I'm just trying to put it off on you as my child. So maybe I uh uh I uh I uh I
You trying to say
ah
apologize? You trying to say
yeah, that's
apologize?
the word. I'm trying to say it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah, Jay.
Here you
Listen.
go.
Ugh.
Right. I thought that was going to be a touching father-son moment, but
I was in the theater. I don't know sports.
it's so hard to connect to you sometimes. It's just so sorry about that.
No,
Hey,
it's yeah.
I just want to say I love you. And when you're a jet all the way from your
Your
first
first
cigarette
cigarette to
to
your
your last
last
dying
dying day.
day.
Hey, have you ever seen the musical about football called Wonderful Town? They got football players in that musical.
Do they play football? They do it
Yeah,
on a
and
field?
well, I mean, they do it on a set dressed field on stage, but yeah, they play football. And the damn Yankees, they play baseball. I mean, if you want to do sports and musicals, why don't you just do one of those shows?
It's not the same. Quit trying to make me you, Dad. That's it. Blue 42. Hot. I'm out of here.
And scene. I was like trying to think, like, should I throw like, there's no crying in baseball, but I didn't.
I don't know.
I don't know.